The State Department announced that the U.S. would be withdrawing from the United Nations cultural organization, UNESCO, by the end of the year. Now, UNESCO is the fourth UN agency that President Trump has pulled out of this year, following the World Health Organization, the United Nations Human Rights Council, as well as UNRWA. So what does this mean for the United States in terms of its international influence, and might we be pulling out of more UN agencies? Joining me now to discuss this, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, a member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and the Government Affairs Committee. He also serves on the Budget Committee and Finance Committee. Senator Johnson, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Tony, thanks for having me. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. I'm sure you were very excited, not only about the UNESCO news, but also earlier in the week with the United States weighing in on the World Health Organization and their amendments.
I'll tell you, this is another classic example that elections have consequences. And in this case, America chose wisely in electing President Trump because he is highly skeptical of these global organizations, and he's pulling the United States out of them, which is probably the greatest influence we can have on them, because we are generally such a big funder, and some of these things basically exist because we fund them. This is good news, but across the board. We're closing our borders. We have closed our border. We're trying to bring an end to these wars. We're trying to get our debt and deficit under control. So this is just one more example of President Trump doing right by the American people and putting America first and protecting American sovereignty.
Do you think that the United Nations is going to receive the message here when, for instance, UNESCO? They recently decided that they wanted to recognize Palestine as a state. That was maybe, I don't know if that was the straw that broke the camel's back here, but the United States pulling out of UNESCO once again. Do you think the United Nations is going to get the message?
I doubt it. They haven't gotten the message for decades now. Partly because, we ping pong back and forth between a president like President Trump, who's highly skeptical of these global organizations, and then a president like President Biden, who's happy to surrender American sovereignty on the altar of these global institutions. So I doubt it. I think the only way they will get the message if we just withdraw entirely for a long period of time. It would be nice to have some kind of global organization where nations of the world can get together and try and cooperate and on a host of different issues. The problem is that they get overtaken by generally leftists, and ends up not being good.
Senator Johnson, you make a really, really important point that I don't want to pass over about how this ping pong, how we have under this administration withdrawing from the United Nations, and as you pointed out, it's what happened last time. Then Biden came in, put us back into these things. I experienced this when I was chairman of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Many of these governments didn't really want to make too many changes because they didn't know what was coming in 3 or 4 years. Some of these things are so important because this really does shape the identity and the direction of our nation. How do we provide for greater stability so we're not seeing this tremendous shift every 4 years?
Radical leftists have to lose elections. We have to win them. I mean, it's really that simple. We're a pretty divided nation. I hope more Americans' eyes are being opened. It seems like they are. The Democrat Party have just become a bunch of radical leftists. They are the extreme party now in this country. More Americans are awakening that. The problem we have is we still have the mainstream media, who are primarily they are the communication wing of the Democrat Party of radical leftism. So, a lot of Americans just simply aren't getting the truth. They do not realize the destruction of radical leftism. They don't realize the destruction of these global organizations, because it always sounds good, right? I mean, all these World Health Organization sounds great, right? But they oftentimes do the exact opposite of what their name calls for. So it requires education.
Well, you mentioned the media, and of course we have NPR out there saying that it's a public safety threat now that they've been defunded in the rescissions bill. But honestly, Senator, some of your colleagues on the Republican side bought into that we needed to fund them. I mean, so the public's misguided, but there's also some fear and intimidation among the ranks of our leaders.
There's no doubt about it, and I think a lot of that is driven by the fact that the majority of the legacy, the corporate media, is from the left. Democrats can do all kinds of crazy things with impunity. They never get held accountable. When Republicans try and do the right thing, it gets twisted. We get lied about. And many of my colleagues actually fear that. I, for one, don't.
I know. That's why you're on this program. All right, Senator, let me ask you this question. As we've seen these four entities that we've taken our money away from or we've gotten out of, what would you like to see next on the list of UN agencies that the administration gets the U.S. out of?
That's a hard one to answer. I'd probably have to go through a pretty long list. Again, I'm just grateful that President Trump has supported the American people to put America first. And again, that's nothing negative as it comes to the rest of the world. I mean, we get our economic house in order. We take care of our people, and that'll have positive repercussions around the world. If every national leader took that approach, healed their own countries, made their own countries the most successful, that generally means the most peaceful, and that has worldwide positive consequences. So it's always bothered me how people denigrate America first, like it's something, some kind of re-entrenchment or entrenchment. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that actually has very positive benefits globally.
It does. I mean, if you're healthy, you can take care of other people. Senator, we just have less than a minute left. I want to ask you a very quick question. The House adjourned after they were at a stalemate over the Epstein files. What's ahead for the Senate?
Well, we need to confirm President Trump's appointees. And unfortunately, the Democrats are completely obstructing the process in an unprecedented way. If the tables were turned, again, the legacy media would be screaming about Republican obstruction, how elections matter, how a president ought to be able to staff his administration. All those things are true, but unfortunately, the mainstream media is putting no pressure on Democrats, and so they are, again, an unprecedented level of obstruction. So President Trump cannot staff his administration, which means they're trying to sabotage this administration like they did the first.
Yeah. All right, Senator Ron Johnson, always great to talk with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Have a great day. Stay well.